Today we're talking country music legends. Now every legend has a story, every legend has a beginning. That first song to hit the top of the charts, we're going to talk about the other side of that spectrum, the last #1 hits of country music legends. Yes, indeed. It's Top 5 Tuesday, and today we are talking about the final #1 hits of country music legends. Now, legends have put together strings of great #1 hits, but just like there's always a first, there must always be a last. What is the last #1 hit of country stars? Here's my top 5. At number 5, we got Conway Twitty. So many hits in his career. 40 times Conway hit #1 on the country charts, 35 by himself, 5 as a duet with Loretta Lynn, but one of them had to be his final #1 hit, and that honor went to Desperado Love in 1986. Not only a great song, one of his many great hits he was still churning out in the 80s, but he also got a little help on it from a guy who would be no stranger to #1 in the future, and that is Vince Gill. Yes, a young Vince Gill was singing harmony on that record. Desperado Love, Conway Twitty, his final #1. That's number 5. At number 4, we got Kenny Rogers and Buy Me a Rose. Now, Kenny had a tremendous career, and it was so long. He had hits in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. He had hits as a rocker. He had hits as a country singer. He had hits on the pop charts. He hit #1 more than a few times in his career, but his final trip to the top of the country music charts happened in the year 2000 with the song Buy Me a Rose. It was a great song for him, but again, it's a record-setting #1 for Kenny Rogers because he was 61 years old when that song came out, making him the oldest person to hit #1 on the country music charts. Unfortunately, that record would only stand for 3 years because in 2003, Willie Nelson teamed up with Toby Keith for Beer for My Horses. Willie was 70 at the time, giving him the new record, but for a record-setting performance when it happened, and his final #1 in the year 2000, Kenny Rogers, Buy Me a Rose, that's number 4. At number 3, we got the man in black, the legendary Johnny Cash. Now, he was no stranger to the top of the charts. He had hit it in the 50s and the 60s. His final #1 coming in 1976, but it's a little strange when you look at his catalog of songs. Johnny was known for some hard-hitting stuff, outlaw songs, drinking songs, cheating songs, train songs, murder songs. So it's a little weird that his final #1 was a comedy song. Yes, One Piece at a Time, the tale of a guy slowly stealing a car from a Cadillac plant. That was the final #1 hit in the career of Johnny Cash. It was a great song, but always kind of stands out in the fact that in this great career of one of the best outlaws of all time, his last #1 was a comedy number. Johnny Cash, One Piece at a Time, that's number 3. At number 2, for me, it is the Possum, George Jones. Now, George, again, no stranger to the top of the charts. He had many hits going back all the way to the 50s, dominated the 60s and 70s with great tragic love songs, but in a bit of a twist, just like Johnny Cash, his final #1 wasn't a song of heartbreak, but a song of true love that goes well. Yes, his last #1 hit came in 1983, and it was I Always Get Lucky With You, one of the most beautiful love songs in country music history for me. A great hit from George Jones. The Possum's last #1, that's at number 2. At number 1 for me, it's Waylon Jennings and Rose in Paradise, the final #1 in Waylon's storied career. It happened in 1987, a great story song, and one that kind of has that air of mystery to it. If you listen to the lyrics of this song, you're never quite sure what exactly happened to Rose in the song. Now, there's 2 different ways you could go with it. One is that she escaped from her jealous man of a husband and now she's out there by herself, or it could be that he killed her and she's buried in the garden. There's 2 very different outcomes here, but it's never explicitly said what happened to Rose in this song. So with that air of mystery and the great sound of Waylon Jennings, 1987, Rose in Paradise, that's my #1 final #1 hit of a country music legend. Thank you so much for joining me today on Top 5 Tuesday. We will be back next week with more. Have a great day.